Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Being Human Now show. I'm your host, Jennifer Locksmith, and today our guest is Dr. Ariana Love. Dr. Love is a second generation naturopathic doctor. She trained under her father and later mentored with Dr. Robert Young. She is an investigative journalist of 16 years, a medical researcher, patent reviewer, whistleblower, and to me, a shining example of someone who is divinely protected. Ariana Love, thank you so much for all you have done and continue to do. We appreciate you. And what a blessing to humanity that you are a true healer and not a brainwashed, Rockefeller trained allopathic doctor.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. We're going to have an awesome chat. Um, so, we're going to be covering a lot of stuff today. You've given us 2 hours of your time. Thank you so much. We're going to be talking about COVID-19, what really was going on there. We're going to be talking about the resolution that wasn't the COVID-19 injections, because they are not vaccines, which we're going to get into. And some of that stuff is going to be pretty heavy, but not to worry, friends. We are going to bring you remedies. We're bringing knowledge. She's bringing knowledge to us, and we can acknowledge that, act on the knowledge, and she's going to give us some remedies to detox. She has a detox protocol she's going to share, and just remedies to share for those that did get the COVID injections, and even those that didn't, because we're going to find out some stuff about this that it's not isolated. Um, and then also for whistleblowing, she's had 3 attempts on her life, which she's going to tell us about. And thank goodness she's still with us. And she's got also some very special protectors and an adopted family that looks after her. And she's going to tell us about them too. So we've got an action-packed show today. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
of course. So my first question, just diving right in, what made you want to choose the path of naturopathic medicine?
I think it's something that chose me. Maybe it's my birth. It's
Mhm.
maybe my soul because I chose my parents. Of course, I believe our souls choose, and my dad is homeopathic doctor, and he founded the first healing institute, natural medicine, natural healing institute in Northern California in 1981. And it's really all that he's ever done. He started with massage and very young. I think he was 21 when he started
Wow.
with massage. Yeah. And so for over 50 years, that's all he's ever done. That's what he
Mhm.
knew what he wanted to do with his life. So watching him meeting his clients and then and he would he opened that door to me and taught me that healing is also a spiritual journey
Mhm.
that you take when you go within.
Yeah.
And so it shaped my life. And at 17 to 19, I was seeking natural healing myself and enrolled in my first private institute to
Mhm.
get certified in different healing modalities when I was just 19 years old. So it was my first passion too, but I didn't see a way for me to have a practice in this world. I thought people are too brainwashed by the Rockefeller system. They are too lazy and want the quick solution, just do it for me. And they didn't people didn't want to take responsibility for their health. So I just thought I would never have a practice, but it was always something that I gravitated to. I was constantly meeting unusual mentors like Ayurvedic physician or Native American medicine men, and I would study that with them for good chunks of time, a year at a time at least. And so I was constantly gaining knowledge,
Yeah.
and I understood the root cause of disease, and I understood how to heal the body and how our body system works from a very young age. It was like
Yeah.
innate. And so when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, that was when I realize my knowledge is needed, that the true knowledge of healing is almost canceled out of our education system, which is funded by pharmaceutical companies in the universities. So medicine is very controlled. The field of medicine, they want us to believe that it's only allopathic, invasive treatments and toxic drugs that will heal you, and that is just not true. So I stepped up. I said, well, I'll try. I'll try to help people because people were reaching out to me asking me for help. Do you know what to do? Can you help us? And so I stepped up and for the last 6 years developed my practice. And I was the first doctor in all Western countries to figure out how to remove the COVID-19 technology. When other doctors threw their hands up in the air and said, there's no way, it's impossible, I was doing it. And a
Mm,
lot of, my peers have had a hard time believing that I really have succeeded.
mm,
But, the supplements I use, they're all backed by peer-reviewed research. It's all solid and they work. And when but healing is a system. You have to treat the body. It's a body system. The immune system needs a lot of a variety of different things. And so it's not just one magic bullet that's going to heal you. It's a combination of things. And
mm.
so, anyway, that's kind of my background and how I got into natural medicine. It was a calling.
Yeah,
I was called to step up and do this. And and
yeah,
and I wouldn't have under any other circumstances. I never would have. I know this. It was because I saw humanity, at risk, serious risk of and danger. And so
mhm,
that's why I did it. I did it for the love of humanity.
yeah. Well, thank goodness. And I don't believe in coincidences. So I feel like a lot of us started getting called to our purposes, 5 years ago. And it was like it was almost like our lives were all leading up to what's unfolding now for us to step up and play our parts. And I definitely think you've probably been a healer in a past life. I don't know if you believe in things like that, but
I've seen
um,
it.
I'm sure just inherently like, oh, how do I know that? I just know. And then it's like showing it
Yeah.
to you in your life. And yeah, that's one thing. I feel like allopathic, all they really know how to do is the pharmaceuticals because that's all they're taught. And burning and cutting. This really seems to be the only solutions they have. So,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people that I know will talk about the fallout from the shots, but all I'm hearing from people that are suffering is that they're being told by their allopathic doctors that it's long COVID,
Right.
So anyway, so yeah, so let's get right into it. Obviously, we know, and anyone paying attention knows that divine creation is clearly under attack. If you had to describe it to someone who just got here and had no idea, how would you describe the situation we're in here, Dr. Love? I know it's a big question.
So, I would explain that humanity is occupied by demonic forces, um, and has always been, and that it's just coming to light, and that they've always done a soft kill to try to keep the population culled and under control, but now it's turning into a hard kill. And we are facing extinction level event with this biological and technological weapon system that has been unleashed and introduced to humanity. So, humanity, human beings, in our authentic God-given form, are under threat of extinction. And because this technology that was introduced through the form of injections, um, is altering the genetic codes of people and changing what it means to be human, genetically modifying humanity. And that's, our DNA is like the blueprint for our soul. So the soul can't find the body if the genetic codes are altered too much. So there's a lot going on there, but that's what I would say is just that we are under it's technically called biohacking when
Yeah.
they hack into the cell and into the genome and alter it with using the CRISPR-Cas9 technology.
Hmm.
So that's what we're facing. That's what
Yeah.
human beings are facing is literally extinction level event. They've
Yeah.
sterilized the population, men and women, and altered humanity dramatically to the point where, there's a very small percentage of human beings that are still human.
Yeah. Yeah. Evil Genius doesn't cover it. It's like we're in a bad sci-fi movie. It's wild, the stuff we're going to get into today, but it's important to be aware. It's the only way we can intervene. Well, let's just how it all started. COVID-19. Um, What was COVID-19 really? Yeah.
So they tell us it's a virus.
Hmm.
Um, but viruses have never been isolated in a laboratory scientifically. There's still this elusive thing that floats around in the air and makes people sick, and we don't know how we catch it, and yada, yada. And that's how they keep control over people and keep people in a state of fear. You might catch something, but the body system doesn't work like that. You don't catch. Yeah, you can be, bacteria and parasites do spread.
Hmm.
There are some toxins that can spread from human to human, but they're not, and they are, so they do aerosolize, but they're not viruses. Viruses in the history of medicine have never been isolated. And when they introduced the concept of a virus to humanity was during the last democide, worldwide democide, which was the Spanish flu. And it was a classic playbook like today, where they put people in masks, suffocating their airways and causing because the majority of toxins in the body, 70% come out through our exhale. So if you're covering yourself in a mask and forcing that back down, you will get sick.
So
And
they
not
did more harm than good. They didn't do good. They did harm the mass. I was going to ask you about, did the mass do any good or what?
No, of course
Oh,
not.
yeah.
Because a couple of reasons. If you were talking virus theory,
Hmm.
viruses are so small they'll pass right through any mask. And what they're really using is nanoparticles, which are very small too. They'll pass through any mask. So what it has succeeded in doing is making people brain dead, brain damaged, not brain dead, but brain damaged. And um, and cutting out, because when you cut off the airways within a minute, a person can become hypoxic, which is a lack of oxygen in the brain. And any length of time will it induces brain damage that is very hard to reverse. So, this is what they want. They want people dumbed down. They want people sick and dying, and they want our children unable to flourish. So the concept of a virus was basically see, they replaced in the Britannica. If you look at old definitions in the Britannica of medicine, um, it says a virus is a parasite. So if you just switch viruses with parasites or nanoparticles, nanotechnology,
Hmm.
then you have your answer. That's what it is.
Hmm.
There's no viruses. They're using pathogens, lab enhanced bioweapons that are patented. There's patents on everything. When they say, okay, you got the Zika virus, well, it's a patented bioweapon. So it came from a lab. It's not a virus. It's a weapon system.
Hmm.
So they've weaponized nature, they've weaponized parasites and bacteria, fungus, mold, venoms, everything toxic, metals, graphene oxide. The most toxic of substances, they've enhanced them to be more lethal. And then they deploy them in a weapon system in the form of injections, PCR swabs, aerosolized spraying, food, clothing, medicine, drugs, pharmaceutical drugs. They're putting their weapon systems, and they've been doing it for a couple of decades already,
Hmm.
preparing, leading up to this, but they've just increased the dosage. And
Yeah.
so they've got people looking in the wrong place, saying COVID-19 is a virus. No, it's a weapon system. It's real.
Yeah.
When people say COVID doesn't exist, well, it does. It's just a
Okay.
different form than we're told. They have, they can aerosolize spray it and then make people sick in a certain area and then blame it on a virus. But
Hmm.
actually, it is graphene oxide nanoparticles as carriers of payloads and weapon systems that you inhale. And they're designed to shut down the immune system, so when you get enough of it in your system, it accumulates and it just weighs down the immune system. The body can't detox these these poisons naturally. So you have to give assistance to the body.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so does EMF play a role in this?
Let's move over here. Yes, absolutely, because the graphene oxide nanotechnology, it is super paramagnetic. And so they can externally control their devices. They're literally nano-sized devices, is what they are, that are designed to attack the cells.
Hmm.
They attack the cells in the body that are the weakest, and then they weaken them more. So anybody who has underlying conditions, they become acute. And you start, and they, and a lot of people, they don't make the link between, the injection or,
Yeah.
exposure somehow because they're like, oh, I had this condition before. It's just come back. But things don't just come back by themselves. There's always
Yeah.
a reason for it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so this is how they're doing it. They're
Okay.
speeding up the death and dying process by
Hmm.
attacking the cells. And they
Okay.
can also alter the genome.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to want to circle back because
Okay.
so this virus was caused by all these things, and then it also ties into the shots, but they're not really the vaccines that aren't. But I want to ask you one more thing about the protocols in the hospitals. Were not helpful. If anything, they were actually very detrimental. Would you mind talking about they were giving patients remdesivir, I believe it's called, and putting them on ventilators.
Yes.
Yeah, which was killing
Basically,
people, right?
yeah. Yeah. So they introduced a new protocol into hospitals and it became the standard. And so when somebody had been diagnosed with COVID-19 and, the PCR, first of all, the PCR swabs, they are not actually detection devices to detect COVID-19. That's a lie because you can't detect, even the maker of the PCR swabs, Mullis was his name. You
Yeah.
can't detect a virus or a pathogen. It's not what it's for. And so that was all a scam. It was actually to insert bioweapons into the body and chip people in the nasal pharyngeal cavity and puncture and open the membrane, that delicate membrane at the blood-brain barrier to allow for the nanotechnology to more easily enter the brain. Because if you keep rupturing that membrane over and over, it can't heal and then it makes holes. So, I mean, because there's no reason to, when you're taking genetic material, you can just, you know, take it from the outside of the nose or inside the mouth. You don't have to jab something way up. So it's what it is it's actually in the patents on the PCR swabs. It says they're cloning devices. So they're
Oh
inserting a weapon system into the body
my
and
God.
parasites, genetically modified parasites. Everybody who was sick from PCR swabs they were infested with parasites and had to do a parasite cleanse. So the parasites are the carriers, or they're called vectors of the messenger RNA that gets delivered into the cell and into the genome because parasites can enter the cell, and so do the graphene
What?
oxide nanoparticles. So it's like a two-prong weapon system. You've got the parasites and you've got the graphene oxide nanoparticles, and together they are able to in modify the genome.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the COVID vaccines because
Oh,
we're
and the
getting into.
hospitals, if you wanted
Oh,
me to comment
yes.
on that,
Oh, yeah.
they put in a new protocol that was generated by AI. So
Oh, God.
right. So they can ask AI, how do we take people out the best possible way? And then the AI came up with a method. So whenever they just called everything. When people were going into hospitals, no matter what they had, they were calling it COVID-19 and putting them on ventilators. Well, even if you had a respiratory infection, a ventilator is not the treatment protocol. That's totally wrong. You can damage somebody's lungs, you can kill them,
Hmm.
and that's what they did. And then they put into the ventilators, they put remdesivir, which is an end of life treatment. It helps facilitate death. And also in some countries, they use midazolam, which is also deadly. It's also an end of life treatment. So they were using totally wrong treatment protocols. And to this day, I know in America, and it's like they'll start with one country and introduce a model system like, okay, we're going to just start vaccinating people when they're under anesthesia. And under the Biden administration, they admitted that they're doing that in America. And then it becomes the model system. Once they get away with it,
Hmm.
starts to be practiced all across the world because this is a worldwide collaborative effort by governments to take
Mm,
out their constituents. So, so they were taking people out this way, um, no matter what they had,
yeah.
and so that's yeah, that was the big scam. And to this day, still, if you go to a hospital, they can, inject you if you're sleeping.
Mm,
Then will come in, will sneak into your room. And I mean, I've had many clients report this to me and clients that were poisoned with the COVID technology when after a hospital visit, either under anesthesia or just sleeping.
yeah.
And so
Oh,
this is going on. You can't go to a hospital without a watch guard. You have to go there with someone and they have to watch over you 24/7. They cannot leave your side.
yeah.
And because this is going on.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. There's an agenda. It's a big one. Yeah, so the COVID vaccines are, I think you've already said they are biological, technological warfare.
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny how you mentioned parasites. We're going to talk about how parasites play a role in this.
Mm.
I once heard someone say that parasites are a type of demon.
Mm.
And I just think that's so fit. Like that came to mind looking at your work. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, of course they would be. Um, so yeah, that's so this is a democide. Okay, so first let's clarify that these were not vaccines. The COVID vaccines were not vaccines. So what were they really?
Okay. So a vaccine in vaccinology, like the
Hmm.
classical definition of a vaccine, the idea behind it, which I don't even agree with in the first place. You're
Yeah.
introducing a pathogen into the body. You're injecting it through subcutaneous injection. So we have, okay, our body system works in such a way that we take things through our mouth and it goes
Hmm.
through the digestive system. And we have a protective mechanisms for sorting out toxins so
Hmm.
that they can go back out through our body and not enter the bloodstream or get into the body fluids.
Hmm.
So we have this innate design, which is perfect. But when they start injecting under the skin and it goes into the body fluids and the bloodstream, I mean, this is you shouldn't do that in the first place. That's why I
Yeah.
don't agree with vaccines in the first place, because that's not the way. I don't like invasive treatments. Invasive treatments is the Rockefeller medicine, it's the allopathic system. When you're healing the body using terrain medicine, which is what I do, it's not invasive. You don't have to invade the body. You just work with the body and how the body system works. But most people don't know that anymore.
Hmm.
Most doctors aren't taught this. So,
This is new medicine. This is not, this allopathic medicine has just been around for what? It's
yes,
fairly
it's
new.
less than 100 years.
Yeah.
So the terrain medicine is thousands of years old,
Hmm.
proven and tested. So the idea of in allopathic medicine adding toxicity to every single, they take nature, they'll extract things and isolate things and synthesize them in a lab so they're synthetic and they become a toxin, or they'll add toxicity to the drug. And
Hmm.
this is just not how nature works.
Yeah.
In nature, you have everything you need in the leaves of the pine tree, right? It's a whole that's holistic medicine, is where you have all the nutrients there that you need. If you go and start isolating things, sometimes that works and sometimes it most of the time it doesn't, because you need all the elements that are within that needle, the pine needle, to heal. And, if you start isolating things, sometimes, you'll get creates an imbalance where there might be some things in it that are toxic that are then going to react differently in the body.
Yeah.
So basically, okay, so in vaccinology, the idea is you introduce a pathogen that is found in nature. It's supposed to be natural and organic. And supposedly,
Yeah.
in the past, that's how it was
Yeah.
originally.
Yeah.
So your body then has to fight something that is foreign and toxic. So you build up antibodies against that. And then the idea is that the next time you interface with that toxin in nature, then your body will automatically remember it and know how to respond. and then therefore you will be safer because you will be able to probably you won't get sick. And this is actually true. In vaccinology, it does work that way.
Mm-hmm.
However, what they are doing and what the Rockefeller medicine has always been doing, I read patents going back to 1950. The
Mm-hmm.
polio vaccine, the first one, it contained mycoplasmas. These are genetically modified bacteria designed to be more lethal, designed to evade the immune system and remain in your body so that later on in life, when your immune system is suppressed for some reason, then you start getting symptoms of disease and you have to go into the hospital and see a medical doctor, and then they give you drugs, and then you're in this vicious cycle that
Mm-hmm.
is hard to break out of. So they are creating disease with the vaccination program, and that's what it's always been about. It hasn't been about protecting people. It hasn't been about boosting the immune system. So when you genetically modify something in a lab, that's called gain of function. That is a technically a bioweapon. So
Mm-hmm.
vaccines have always been bioweapons.
Yeah.
And so if they were using vaccinology as it's supposed to be, it could work. But you have to then use a natural pathogen that you're going to interface in nature later on. They're not using anything natural. They're using all synthetics. You're never going to encounter that synthetic gain of function bioweapon ever again, except through the injection.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not vaccinology. And then in addition, the COVID-19 so-called vaccines are actually messenger RNA and graphene oxide nanotechnology, which they tried to hide from us.
Yeah.
So this is not vaccinology at all. These aren't vaccines at all. These are lethal experimental injections that they never got approval for formally. All
Mm-hmm.
of the animals died during the animal trials.
Yeah. And they just switched to humans. Yeah.
We're not allowed to experiment on humans if you don't succeed in the animal trials.
Mm-hmm.
So, they managed to accomplish this through an emergency use authorization. They had to stage a pandemic in order to justify the emergency use authorization, because
Yeah.
otherwise they never would have gotten authorization to
Yeah.
use this technology.
Mm-hmm.
And so they stage a pandemic using bioweapons, aerosolized spraying on cities and condensed areas. So when
Yeah.
people would start getting sick, this is how they did it. And they
Yeah.
switched out the flu with COVID-19,
Yeah. Flu
the
just
numbers
disappeared.
to make the numbers go up, and they did all kinds of little tricks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, you mentioned graphene oxide. That, and then is it true that this is what's causing the turbo cancers we're seeing?
It's part of it.
Graphene, part of it. What is graphene
Definitely
oxide and what role does it play in the COVID? What should we call them? They're not vaccines, COVID
jabs.
jabs. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Graphene oxide, yeah. Or do you want to, yeah, is this a good
yeah.
segue or do you want to talk about something else first?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
So graphene oxide, they were able to hide it in it's not mentioned in the patent specifically, graphene oxide nanoparticles, because they hid it under a trade secret. And that was something Karen Kingston, a Pfizer was whistleblower, revealed to the public. But I also found graphene oxide in the patents in their hydrogels, microspheres, microbeads, and microbubbles. Those are all delayed release technologies. They're all made with graphene oxide.
Okay.
So I did find graphene oxide in the patents, and then since then we've had like 25 or 26 independent research teams confirm graphene oxide. But a lot of the experts like to deny it because that's the one thing they've been trying to hide. So it is an industrial poison. It should never come anywhere near humans. People who handle graphene oxide in a laboratory have to wear hazmat suits. They
Mm-hmm.
cannot touch it. It's aerosolized so that you have to wear masks.
Mm-hmm.
So, they've put a very extreme poison into the body, injected it,
Mm-hmm.
and the way that it works is that the graphene oxide nanoparticles will aerosolize for a time, and basically they're inhalable by everybody else in the breathing zone of a vaccinated person or a PCR swabbed person. And so in the beginning, we were seeing graphene oxide structures inside of people's who were vaccinated through them under a dark field microscope. And
Mm-hmm.
now then it became everybody. So basically, everybody's exposed. We're all exposed because it's an aerosolized weapon system.
Yeah.
Pfizer calls it self-replicating vaccines. Now, in 2021, I knew this. I knew it immediately because I could smell it, I could taste it. It burned my tongue. I had a bodily reaction. And so I did some research and blew the whistle and, exposed and revealed for the first time that this is an aerosolized or self-replicating injections.
Yeah.
And then in addition to the graphene oxide nanotechnology, it then with the parasites, it encodes a genetic material into the genome of targeted cells, and then people will begin to start producing a synthetic chemical in their own cells, which is called the spike protein, and that also aerosolizes. So it's probably about 6 months where first it's the graphene oxide nanotechnology that's coming out the sweat glands and the pores, and then after that it's the spike protein, and it's
Okay.
probably about a 3 month window for each.
Mm-hmm.
Relatively, it can go longer, but
Yeah.
and that's why they wanted people injected repeatedly every 6 months because the weapon system runs its course. So they've turned human beings into like bioweapons factories so
Yeah.
that they will be spreading toxic poison to others. And
Yeah.
so it was designed to spread through the population, through water droplets, through bodily fluids, through aerosolized exhale, just through the sweat glands and the pores of the skin. So that's what we're
S-
dealing with.
Yeah. So if you're not jabbed and you have sex with someone that is jabbed, you are then jabbed.
Definitely.
Okay. And then,
Especially with repeated sexual intercourse.
okay.
It's, the first time is enough to make a person really sick, but with repeated interaction, then it's, the whole weapon system transfers.
Yeah. And even kissing someone, I would assume. Okay.
I've had clients that get the AI, the genetically modified parasites in their body just from kissing someone who's vaccinated.
Oh my goodness. Well, I know this question just popped in my head, so I'm sure some people it's going to pop in their head too. What if you use a condom?
It doesn't matter because
Okay.
it's aerosolized anyway. You
Yeah.
don't even have to sleep with someone. You just sit on the sofa with them for a
Oh,
couple of
geez.
minutes.
Okay. Okay.
I have a quick story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met someone who there was some business interaction,
Mm-hmm.
and he lied to me and said that he was not vaccinated. And I was sitting in an interview for a couple of hours. We were getting to know each other, and he was off to the left of me and about 5, 6 feet away. And later on, when I went home, I went to sleep. When I woke up in the morning, the left side of my face was completely red. My eye was blood red, and I felt burned. Well, that's anthrax. So,
Okay.
another little
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's get into what's in these. Yeah.
they
I mean,
put
what happened with you? So,
anthrax into the vaccines. This is what's causing hemorrhaging. So it causes uncontrollable bleeding. It affects the platelets. So basically, it's thrombocytopenia in a long run.
mhm.
And basically, the person just is bleeding internally. Hemorrhaging is what it is. That's from the anthrax. Now, anthrax is the antigen, again, vaccinology terms, they call it an antigen. And what is an antigen? An antigen is designed to evoke an immune response. So they're
Mhm.
using anthrax, a known bioweapon, to evoke an immune response in the COVID-19 jabs and in all of their COVID-19 technology.
Mhm.
So that's a major antigen that is not a natural pathogen. And
Yeah.
so it causes hemorrhaging. And they wanted this. They wanted the dramatic effect so people would be scared. They'd run to the hospitals and then they could be put on a ventilator and taken out.
Yeah.
And also the hospitals just, it was exposed in the Natural Tribunal for Natural Justice that hospitals were harvesting organs of people. So they have to harvest organs while a person is still alive. So that was part of the ventilator scam, was to get people on their deathbeds so that then they could say, oh, to the relatives, there's no hope for them. Sorry, they died, and they'd harvest their organs, and um say to the relatives they can't see the body because COVID-19, right?
Hmm.
So we had to incinerate it.
Yep. And that's why the heart's the last to be harvested
Mhm.
because they have to keep them alive. Yeah. Good
Yes,
Lord.
they have to, the organs have to be taken out while a person is still alive.
Yeah. And
This
I
is
heard
what they
this. Is this true? I think I read this in one of Janice Barcelo's books that they actually, well, maybe I shouldn't tell people this. This is already heavy enough, but they don't give them like anesthesia when they do that. They're just, they give them like a, what do you call it? To just paralyze them. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So
So,
they're still alive. A lot of times, they can feel it.
yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I'm sorry to, well, it's okay. You know what? People need the knowledge. So I know I might have just upset some people, but wouldn't you rather know so that you know the future than not know at all?
No, we
Um,
have to know, as scary as this stuff is, and I know it's a shocking, but we have to hear it because this is what we're facing. You can't just put your head in the sand and hope and pray that it all goes away. It doesn't work like that. We have to know before we can change it. If
bring
we are
back the
being told
balance.
lies and you're still stuck in those lies, you're feeding the lie, you're feeding an alternative reality. We need to be firmly grounded in reality in order to bring this to a stop. It's the
Yeah.
only way. We
Yeah.
have to be brave and we have to go through it. And you step up. Everyone has to step up, and we're warriors now.
Yeah.
We have been attacked by our own governments. This is ultimately what we have to face. They're trying to kill us all. Okay, and we need to know that because okay, in times of war, for example, your
Hmm.
enemy strikes you. You have to respond. We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You can die or you can live and respond, and you can live through this because it's also a spiritual war. We are dealing with principalities, as the Bible says. And so, we're on this journey and we have divine protection.
Hmm.
And that is our protection. I mean, it is promised.
Yeah.
So we don't have another choice. We have to face the hard, cold truth, and
Hmm.
then we can change it.
Yes. Get responsible. It's the only way we can get responsible. And absolutely intervene in our own fellow human beings. But also, I think, a lot of people talk about how we have to, love. Love is the answer. But I also think tough love can be the answer, needs to be. And we need to be responsible, hold ourselves accountable, but also those that are doing evil accountable. And, I will send Bill Gates love through his jail cell door. But, I don't know how that guy's still walking free. I mean, I'm pretty sure a few countries now have convicted him of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and he's still out here doing his thing, openly talking about, um,
I think he's in a bunker.
you think,
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah. And he's still releasing his GMO mosquitoes, which are also carrying this stuff, correct? The parasites and,
Yes. The genetically modified parasites. So
hmm.
they want to get, there's two things they want to get inside the body. They want to get
Hmm.
the parasites. They want people saturated with the parasites, and
Hmm.
then to the graphene oxide nanotech because that's what's doing the CRISPR-Cas9 genetic modification. That's part of the CRISPR system.
Yes. Would you mind explaining a little bit about that? For instance, there's one parasite called help me here, trypanosoma, trypanosoma parasite. That's like a malaria parasite, I think, or
The
something?
malaria parasite is the P. falciparum.
Okay.
And there's five different malaria parasites, and they use the most deadly one, of course. And then the Trypanosoma cruzi they've also genetically modified that one. It's in all COVID-19 vaccines. So it's in the sequence ID number one, which is
Yes.
owned by Bill Gates and the Pirbright Institute. And they are using all of the most deadly species. So the Trypanosoma cruzi has been typically something that you would only encounter in a third world country. Now they've injected it into the population in the West. And so that's why we're having all kinds of weird health reactions. But I like myocarditis. Myocarditis is actually Chagas. It's when parasites are attacking the heart muscle, and they've proven this. So I was right. Dr. Robert Young and we revealed that it's not myocarditis. That's a false diagnosis to ignore the parasites. It is actually Chagas. It's the Trypanosoma cruzi, and it already attacks the heart, but then they can send it there too with genetic tags. So, it's a parasitic infestation. You have to kill the parasites.
Yeah. And it's
And
attacking the heart, the brain, and the liver, correct? They're going for those
in
organs the
particular,
most,
yeah,
and reproduction. Just while
reproduction.
you mentioned this, and this is from I would highly recommend people look into Rumble for you and Dr. Young's talks because they're amazing, and that's why I pulled from for this. You said, just to give people an example of some of the things they're doing, you mentioned the ID number one, that I believe it's the sequence number one that is actually causing the embryo from attaching uh, to the womb, essentially. They're stopping life from happening. Would you mind just explaining a little bit about this example of what they're doing, how they're, yeah, I'm gonna shut up now.
It's the P. falciparum parasite that they're using, and it was the Doherty Institute with the World Health Organization. They did this testing on infants and children, and they were testing their P. falciparum parasite. Well, it does attack. It attaches to also to the umbilical cord. So babies in utero, when of pregnant women, it will kill them. It will abort them. It just kills them.
Hmm.
And this is why they're injecting pregnant women with, the COVID jabs because they wanted to take out the babies in utero.
Stillbirths have gone through the roof. Yeah,
Right. Right. We have all the
yeah,
data on that. So it was, this was planned decades in advance.
yes. Can you just go into how, so I know a lot of people are going to wonder the role that specifically the parasites are playing. Can you just kind of go into more detail and explain like actually how this is happening like in the body? Do you mind? Yeah.
So they use parasites, but they also use worms and they also use hydras. This Hydra vulgaris, it's
Hmm.
another species, kind of parasitic species. They
Hmm.
use a variety of different types of parasites and worms.
Hmm.
And so basically they have uh, graphene hydroxide, it's called, inside the jabs. And these are just really sharp graphene oxide shears that are so sharp they can slice through cell membranes. They can chop up the parasites because parasites replicate, right? These parasites, these genetically modified ones, they replicate very fast,
Hmm.
rapid, because they get excited from the frequency of the 5G towers. So they can blast a certain frequency that they're encoded to respond to, and then
Hmm.
they get real excited and they start replicating and
Hmm.
doing what they're programmed to do.
Yeah.
So they get their bodies get some of, get chopped up by these graphene hydroxide, which was Dr. Andrea Nowak. Dr.
Mhm.
Nowak, we think he was assassinated for blowing the whistle.
Yeah.
He was certainly targeted. We know that. But he was one of the world's, no, he was Europe's leading expert in graphene oxide. So he
Hmm.
said that there's also graphene hydroxide. And this is what was causing people to die suddenly because they're like little razor blades that can, when you start exercising, they just slice through the blood vessels and they can cause someone to spontaneously die.
Hmm.
Well, they also chop up the parasites. So all of that genetic material then is used by the nanotechnology to encode into the genome. But before they can encode this messenger RNA, this genetic material that they want to encode certain cells in the cell groups in the body to, so first they have to delete genetic codes. So
Hmm.
let's say they targeted the frontal cortex a lot, the reproduction. So let's say the frontal cortex, they're knocking out genetic codes on the X chromosome, critical genetic codes like the E1, E3, E2, E4 genes.
Hmm.
And if you do that, if you target this region and knock them out, you can lobotomize somebody, inducing what they call the p36 deletion syndrome.
Hmm.
You can induce autism. It reduces the lifespan of a person down to between 1 to 3 years by performing these genetic deletions, like
Hmm.
right there or anywhere in the body.
Uh-huh.
So they can do them to a greater or lesser degree, and they can only target certain cell groups. They can't target all the cells in the body because there's trillions of cells. So they'll target organs. And they delete using the CRISPR-Cas9, using the graphene oxide nanotechnology. They're deleting genetic codes.
Hmm.
When that is catastrophic in itself. But then to replace it, I mean, that alone, if that's all they did, they'd kill a person. But they then encode the messenger RNA from the genetic material of the parasites. It gets encoded. So whatever they want to be encoded into the cells, they first genetically modify the eggs of the parasite to create a new species. It's attached to the hydrogel, or it's a DARPA L hydrogel, it's called, that's in the outer coating it's the lipid coating of the graphene oxide nanoparticles. There's also an internal payload. And so those parasite eggs that are genetically modified in the University of Kiel, they are they then will, the payloads will be released in the body. The parasites will then start to replicate. And the environment of your body, your pH, it factors into whether or not they can replicate.
Hmm.
So health is a major factor in resistance to these bioweapons. So the genetic material of the parasites gets encoded into the cell, and then the cell will begin to, as cells replicate, it takes, a few months it depends. Each cell group replicates at different rates.
Hmm.
But as they start to replicate, they then are producing this toxic spike protein that
Hmm.
got encoded into the cell. And that it does produce it's a poison. So, I
Hmm.
mean, it's a bizarre weapon system. I've been studying it since 2020. I read the
Hmm.
patents in 2021. I'm
Hmm.
the only person in the world that I know of that read all the COVID-19 vaccine patents. I studied them. I
Yeah.
kept going back and finding new information.
Hmm.
And it's hard. It's hard to read the patents. Even medical doctors cannot read patents.
Yeah.
They're not trained to do that. So, but it's all there, all the
Hmm.
answers and the keys that we need. And so I had to understand each and every one of the poisons and understand the weapon system so that I could combat it. Because
Yeah.
technology always has a weakness,
Hmm.
always, always.
Yeah.
And that was what I was looking for. And
Hmm.
so the main weakness in this weapon system is health, your body pH. When
Yes.
your pH is high, parasites cannot replicate.
Hmm.
Graphene oxide nanoparticles cannot replicate.
Hmm.
And graphene oxide in itself, it is, when you activate it, it replicates. It has, if you've ever seen people light it on fire, this small little piece like this will become huge and massive.
Yeah.
So this is why it's hard to get the weapon system out of the body and why it takes several months,
Hmm.
because it's a self-replicating um, operating system. And so
Yeah.
you're trying to push it back and stop the replication and detox it while it's trying to replicate.
Hmm.
So keeping your pH high is how you cancel graphene oxide nanotechnology and
Hmm.
parasites, but
Uh-huh.
also salts.
But
Salts,
what? Salt.
salt, salt
Okay.
derivatives and salt isolates. Salt is because we're dealing with an electrical system. So the body is an electrical system. Our
Hmm.
cells communicate and need electricity, and they need which is what salt has. So
Hmm.
salt contains positive and negative ions, and when they're in the body, they fire against each other, which creates electricity. And that restores the cellular communication, boosts the pH in the body, and does other things, drives oxygen into the cells, but it cancels graphene oxide nanotechnology. And this was in studies.
Now, what kind of salt? Is it specific types of salt? Not your typical. stuff you find at the restaurants, right? It's okay.
So, yes, salt, never use table salt because it's bleached and all the minerals will be dead. So it's just got chlorine and toxin. You
Yeah.
want to use sea salt, either sea salt, but sea salt has between 16 to 24 minerals. So the best salt would be like either Himalayan salt or Redmond salt, which
Okay.
is harvested from Utah.
Okay.
So it's better than sea salt because I guess there's a lot of microplastics in the
Hmm.
ocean now.
Oh
So
yeah.
to get salt that's from they say an ancient seabed,
Yeah.
um, it's mined, and so it's going to be pure. And so Redmond's salt is the best,
Okay.
uh, according to testing. So that is very good. You want to eat it every day in your
Hmm.
food. But then you need the derivatives and the isolates. Like redox molecules is a salt isolate, which is a patented technology is used to isolate them.
Okay.
Redox molecules are the same. It's the innate operating system of the body. So you're basically empowering the body system by using those. You can also use lesser expensive salt derivatives like sodium chlorite with a
Hmm.
T, as in Tom,
Okay.
um, which produces chlorine dioxide in the body. That
Okay.
is an excellent, affordable solution. So, yeah, so I've had to study chemistry a little bit.
I would
Dr.
say.
Robert Young, he helped me to
Yeah.
understand the salt. So that was it's critical. You can't have there's two things that detox the weapon system. That is, other than hydration.
Hmm.
Hydration is first, but it's salts, their derivatives and isolates. They're the healthy oxidants. Then the antioxidants, which are the botanicals and the herbs, medicines, trees, berries, foods,
Pine
that's
needles.
yes.
You said. Yeah.
Those are all antioxidants. So you need
Hmm.
both. The cells in our body need both. They need the
Hmm.
healthy oxidants from salt and the healthy antioxidants from botanicals. And
Okay.
this is how you do it because you have to alternate back and forth between them throughout the day to activate the cells manually. Because once the immune system shuts down, once your mitochondria is fatigued and in a ROS, you've got to rescue it. And therefore, you've got to give the cells what they need. So what I'm doing with my protocol is manually activating the cells to do their function again. You can force them to do their function if you know
Hmm.
how, until the immune system is rescued. And you have to do that because these poisons shut down your cells, shut down your cell functions and your cells' ability to do what they're supposed to do. But we can override that.
Yes. We can reverse it.
Yeah.
And sweet, I heard you say it shut down. Is it true that these shots are basically kind of giving people AIDS?
Yes.
A form of AIDS. Okay.
So they're basically shutting down the immune system. That's what AIDS is. It's
Hmm.
also parasites. It's the Trypanosoma cruzi parasite. And
Hmm.
I did an interview with Dr. Judy Mikovits. She's a biotech whistleblower.
Hmm.
She confirmed that yes, AIDS is the Trypanosoma cruzi parasite, genetically modified. That's the
Hmm.
HIV-1, which is owned by Anthony Fauci, and that's in all of the COVID-19 jabs, all the patents. So they are, AIDS was a trial run for this COVID-19, and they were injecting parasites into the body.
Hmm.
Nobody thought to look for that, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I'm seeing it, and other people I know are seeing, unfortunately, in their jabbed friends and family. The name is slipping me right now, but those brown patches that AIDS patients would get on the skin, I forget what they're called. Not carcinoma, something
So,
else. Um,
I don't know exactly.
it's like
That
a,
actually, that's probably from anthrax. That's typical
mm,
of anthrax. But again,
yeah.
AIDS is a weapon system. It wasn't just parasites they injected. They injected the COVID-19 weapon system. They were trialing it
Hmm.
on people. So
Yeah.
parasites spread very easily.
Yeah.
So
And you've said that not all shots are carrying the same thing. That's also important for people to know. So they pre-plan this to make it confusing, to make it so you couldn't make the connection with the jabs. So this is going to express in everybody differently.
yeah. So what
Yeah.
people have now is autoimmunity. AIDS is autoimmunity when the immune system shuts down, and there's
Hmm.
poisons in the system that are creating all kinds of different symptoms.
Hmm.
But all of it is reversible. They tell
Yes.
you that it's a death sentence. They say, oh, AIDS, sorry, no treatment, no cure. But that's not true. And they don't want people to know that there is a treatment or cure, a way
Hmm.
to reverse it. So
Yeah.
basically, what people have is, yeah, AIDS, autoimmunity. It's just autoimmunity. The
Yeah.
immune system's shut down.
But we can get it back.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, recommendations for people that have taken these jabs? Any other recommendations? And then also, as we've said, they've made it very easily spread. So even the people that didn't get the jabs probably need to be detoxing to some extent, correct? And the fewer jabs you've had, the better, obviously. Um, yeah.
Everybody has to detox. Now, as long as you're walking and breathing, your life can be saved.
Hmm.
It's like 99.99% of people can be saved.
Hmm.
Even if you're totally sick or I've pulled people out of their deathbeds. They were in sepsis. They were going to have their
Oh my
foot
God.
amputated, and pulled them out of the hospital. They still have their foot. It's possible to reverse anything at any point in time as long as a
Yeah.
person's still alive.
Yeah.
This is not taught to us, but it's true. If you understand how the body system works, which most doctors unfortunately do not,
Yeah.
I'm one of the few. Dr. Robert Young is one of the few.
Hmm.
He's the only other doctor I trust. There's one more doctor in India. She's head of
Okay.
the Ayurvedic board. I
Yeah.
trust her. And that's it. There's like three of us.
Yeah.
No, because it's you just have to understand fundamentally how our body works.
Yeah.
And you have to give the body what it needs.
Hmm.
So you have got to think in terms of, instead of having a diagnosis, you have to think in terms of being poisoned. You're not just sick randomly, you're poisoned.
Hmm.
So what we're dealing with is acute poisoning in a lot
Hmm.
of cases, in severe cases. So we have to detox the poison. You have to remove the poison and remove everything in your diet that is introducing poison or toxins to your body. So
Hmm.
I have a whole dietary protocol, and I work with people on diet too, because you can do about half of the work just with diet.
Hmm.
So it takes discipline. It takes a little bit of altering your lifestyle, but I've made it as easy as possible for people, and I walk people through the whole process. It takes about 4 months to recover somebody from the jabs.
Okay.
It's just what it is, because the body can't do it any faster.
Okay.
And that's when the body has what it needs. Um,
Yeah.
so So there, you have to think in terms of
Hmm.
detoxing,
Hmm.
detox. It's always been considered a dirty word
Hmm.
and sexy, but
Yeah.
we have to embrace that. And so there's
Yes.
two parts that I focus on with people. One is the detox, which always happens first. When your cells finally get what they need, they start
Hmm.
to push out the poison. That's the first step. That's what the body prioritizes.
Hmm.
Always prioritizes the brain first and then the rest of the body.
Yeah.
And then after about 3 months, all the toxins are out. And after that, your body starts to focus in a turbo way on repairing and reversing the damage.
Hmm.
So, because people have been exposed to more and more and more toxins, I kind of recommend people stay on a protocol for at least 6 months now.
Hmm.
Before it was 4 months. 4 months is enough to save you and to get your health back, but 6 months is better to never have to, to really give your body at least 3 months to focus on reversing damage.
Hmm.
Because the damage that has been induced from these gene deletions is a lifelong injury.
Yeah.
Without intervention like my protocol, you're going to be sick for the rest of your life. It's going to reduce the lifespan,
Yeah.
but that can all be reversed and you can recover your health. And
Yeah.
I've had to do it I've done it for hundreds of people, up
Hmm.
close and personal clients. And then also I've had to do it for myself.
Yeah. Um, One question I have is, so let's say you have one or both partners and they have a child. Are the children affected by this? Is it passed down through?
Yeah,
Okay.
can be.
Can
It
be.
depends on
Okay.
what the jab is doing in their body. And the
Okay.
jab do different things. They have different embodiments. They change it up.
Hmm.
But what I would recommend for anybody who's had one of these toxic jabs to detox first. Do 6 month program.
Hmm.
Completely purge and cleanse your body, both of you, husband
Okay.
and wife.
Yeah.
And then you can conceive.
Okay.
Because you've got to make sure that, if you've got to reverse the damage, the genetic damage that's been caused, and the body will do it
Okay,
when the
good.
body has the elements it needs.
Okay.
It can reverse. And I've had a client, I had a client who she was one of the first that I had, and she took two, I think two Moderna shots, one or two, and oh gosh, it was killing her. And it took her a while to detox because she didn't have money for the more potent supplements,
Hmm.
but she did it. And I think 3 years later, she's pregnant.
Oh,
So she wasn't sure if she was going to be sterilized or be able to have babies. So,
yeah.
she made the effort. She put in the time um to reverse the genetic damage, and now, she's pregnant. So it is possible um
Yeah.
to
Great.
she had everything in her. They put the kitchen sink in her
Oh,
basically.
geez.
She had all kinds
Yeah.
of things. So, I was pretty sure that they were sterilizing her too,
Hmm.
but she's pregnant. So, that's kind of hopeful. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But for the future of our human beings. Yeah, so I know you've said, yeah, so spring water, salt, but very specific types of salt, not the bleach stuff. And then turpentine, you've said, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So for
which,
people in a low income,
hmm,
you're struggling financially, and you can't afford, more powerful supplements, you can use turpentine.
yeah,
Turpentine by itself will purge the body of all parasites.
yeah,
Now, some people are still in Stockholm syndrome and they want to run to the pharmaceutical companies. They want to go to the doctors, medical doctors, and they're seeing online how ivermectin and fenbendazole are touted as like these miracle cures for killing parasites. Well, let me just inform you that they only kill half of parasite species. And once the parasites get big enough, forget about it. And they only kill about half, they can't kill adult worms, or like, that once they get to a certain stage.
mhm,
So that leaves 50% of people up the creek without a paddle.
yeah,
So it's not a solution in my eyes. That's not good enough. I'm sorry,
yeah,
50%? No,
yeah,
that's not good enough. We
hmm,
need 100%. So the pine tree is the antidote for humanity. It is the one medicine. There's two medicines on earth that will kill every parasite species in the body when you stay on it long enough. And now some people are like, well, they may feel lazy and they're like, no, I just give me a pill. I'm too busy. I
yeah,
can't bother. And then those are the ones who are attracted to ivermectin and fenbendazole. But you're much better off using pine needle essential oil or turpentine, which comes from the pine sap, for 3 months. If you are religious about it and you use it regularly at the right dosage daily, you can purge all parasites in your body. And you will know it because you start feeling better, you get your energy back, your bowel movements get regular, and
hmm,
you just step by step. But it also regenerates the cells in your body. So it helps
hmm,
to reverse the DNA damage from these jabs. So you're much better off using that than using a pharmaceutical.
yeah,
And the second medicine is aloe vera juice. So
okay,
aloe vera juice, if you were to use that alone and use high enough of a dose, you can purge all parasites in your body. It contains a sugar that it attracts the parasites to eat it, and then
hmm,
it's very sticky and gummy. It fuses their mouths closed and they cannot feed.
nice.
And so if you use a combination of turpentine and aloe vera juice, that's even better.
Hmm.
There's other essential oils that also kill parasites. I use them as supportive. So I might use, pine needle essential oil and geranium, or pine needle essential oil and lemongrass. That's a good
Hmm.
one. Or pine and aloe vera, or turpentine and aloe vera. I like to use two things instead of one because we're not dealing with just regular parasites anymore. These are
Yeah,
genetically modified and
yeah,
they're all throughout the body. So you have to be aggressive.
yeah,
But, if you stay on a detox protocol You can purge all parasites in the body within 3 to 4 months, and they'll never come back. And you
Mm,
want to do that. So, one of the mistakes that a lot of people make when they're parasite cleansing is that after 6 weeks, the mother parasites are dead and their symptoms go away and they get their energy back and they feel better. And they're like, oh, good, I'm better. I'm in the clear. And they stop detoxing. But what happens is the baby parasites have hatched. Once the mother parasites die, the babies hatch and they start laying eggs. So the cycle begins again. And a few months later, you'll start having symptoms again. So it's really important
hmm.
to be complete and just it's so easy. You're just taking drops in your mouth
Yeah.
and you do that twice a day, a certain, but you have to start with a lower dose and work up to a higher dose. Never, ever, ever start at a higher dose. And you can harm yourself if you take too much.
Oh, okay.
Essential oils are very powerful. Now there's two different kinds of turpentine. There's a paint thinner, which is an industrial poison you could get at the hardware store. You don't want that one. That can kill you. You want the food grade turpentine, which is 100% pure gum spirits. And I
Okay.
like to use Diamond Forest. They've been around for about 100 years. They're in
Okay.
Georgia. They're great. And it is so affordable. A
Yeah.
4 ounce dropper is like less than, it's $18. And that will last the entire parasite cleanse. So everybody can afford to and it's good to just, you could take it every day for the rest of your life. These are essential foods. The pine tree, typically people would use the pine bark, the inner lining,
Mm,
the pine sap, and the pine needles as food and medicine for thousands of years. It's just
yeah.
been, we don't know about it anymore because the Rockefellers canceled this knowledge out.
Yeah.
But the pine tree is the antidote. Nature
Awesome.
has the antidotes. And we
Yes, it
don't
does.
need the pharmaceutical giants. We don't need them anymore. They cannot be trusted. Plus, ivermectin um, is all contaminated. They're putting graphene oxide nanoparticles and metallic nanoparticles into ivermectin.
Oh my
I don't
God.
know about Merck's original ivermectin, if that's contaminated or not, but all of the other generic brands, most of them, most all of them contain
Oh
weapon systems.
crap.
So, yeah, exactly. I mean, we have to disconnect from them. They're
Yeah.
trying to kill us. Why would you go to your executioner and say, please help me?
Right.
I mean, that's not logical,
Yeah.
right? And so it's between our ears. We have to shift this paradigm here.
Yeah.
And how you do that is with knowledge, empowering ourselves with knowledge. We can treat ourselves and cure ourselves of any disease right from your living room.
Yes. Absolutely. Bravo. I say yes. We need to create an alternate reality. Is what I think we need to do. Which is why I wanted to have you on. It's
Bring
awesome.
an alternate reality and we have to bring back our ancient knowledge. It belongs to us. It's our heritage as Americans, as Europeans, as worldwide citizens. It's our heritage. Natural medicine, it belongs to us. It's knowledge that's been canceled out of our lives, but it's not gone forever.
Yeah.
We bring it back.
Yes, we're gonna bring back. We are, and we've got help, I think, which we're gonna get to in a bit. But yeah, I'm just trying to make sure we cover. I think we've got. Well, I asked you this. I'm just gonna throw that out. I have heard, and a lot of people have heard this, that pure organic nicotine cancels out the nanotech. Is this true?
Yes.
Okay.
It can help. It's
Okay.
again, it's an antioxidant. It's a good one. So
Okay.
antioxidants cancel out the technology and salts.
Mm-hmm.
Healthy oxidants, healthy antioxidants. Nicotine is one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, it helps to kill parasites too.
Okay.
But you want to use organic. You want to use don't fool yourself with cigarettes or chewing tobacco. That's all contaminated. They
Mm-hmm.
put graphene oxide nanotechnology into the cigarette butts, the butts of cigarette, and then they put chemicals into the tobacco. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to get an organic source. You can find it online. You roll your own, chew organic nicotine, then it's okay. You can get higher amounts of nicotine from eggplant and from green chili peppers. There's
Okay.
certain chili peppers that grow down in New Mexico
Mm-hmm.
that are filled with nicotine. So you
Oh, okay.
don't need tobacco. And
Okay.
the nicotine patches, they are not organic. nicotine. They are synthetic drugs, chemicals that are toxic poison, and they contain graphene oxide nanotechnology for the delayed release aspect of it.
Okay.
So nicotine patches absolutely don't do it. Nicotine gum, no way. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
unless you want to poison yourself, if you're into
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Okay, let's not. Let's not. Okay, so for all the things that you've told us, so you found these things out, you did your research, you blew the whistle, and there were three attempts on your life for that. I like to call them the dark cabal. Monsters masquerading as human beings, poisoned you twice, and you were physically beaten. Would you mind telling people about this? What happened?
Sure. So when I came back from Finland to the United States in January of 2023, um, a couple months later, there was an attempt on my life. I was poisoned by a guy who was running a psyop. He was a Ministry of Defense agent. He had written the algorithm for the Sentinels, which is a weaponized insect program, DARPA, and for the sentinels are inside the microarray patches that they keep trying to mandate for our children in schools across America. Um, the Biden administration tried to do that. So basically, I was poisoned with that. It's known also as the luciferase patch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I had that technology inside of me, and I was blackmailed with my life. And basically, the guy had a device to cancel it, but he wanted to torture me while doing it with 30 volts through my body, and that was unnecessary. He was just a sicko. So I finally agreed to 20 volts and let him do it and canceled the tech. And but I only did parts of the body. So I detoxed the rest with my protocol. And
Mm-hmm.
I was able to save, my life. It took 3 months to get the poison out and to get my energy back. So I've experienced it.
Yeah.
It's torturous technology. I was basically kidnapped and tortured for 5 days by this guy.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
what
was,
they do. I've heard of this. I have listened to things over the years, and that's what they do to whistleblowers. They try to control your life through these things they get into you, and yeah.
and
So
then
yeah, he
after
took
that,
you.
hmm
Wow.
um, I mean, I was trying to understand his device because it
Mhm.
was like maybe a solution for humanity. So this is why I was, it was hard to understand it online and through his videos. So he came and met me. He found out I was in Arizona visiting my dad, and he came to meet. He drove out and came to meet me.
Hmm.
Then I was trying to I was watching the technology. It was a really hard time, but anyway, I was already being targeted. So he was part of the OTO. It's a cult. A satanic pedophile cult, sex magic rituals, Aleister Crowley. And
Hmm.
they're big in Hollywood, they're big in the entertainment industry and in the government. So they work with governments. And so there was about a dozen people defaming me. Some were women, and they were trying to claim that they were clients of mine and that I poisoned them. And they would write blogs, and then they would spread it around. And they gang stalked me and cyber bullied me for the last couple of years. They would, for example, they would direct, like anybody who left a comment in my Telegram channel, they would direct message them and send them material and make, whatever they could gather on me and make up stories. So it's like, that was more trauma than anybody should ever have to endure. And
Hmm.
2 months after the poisoning, they tried to kill me again. They sent a U.S. Army combat veteran. It was a setup, I didn't know him, and he jumped me and he was beating me and administering, punches that were like in places where they were like kill blows. Like later when I looked
Professional.
at the bruises, yeah, I could have been easily killed. Jumped me twice, choked me, held what is it? Stress position, held me in stress
Oh my
position.
God.
So I'm still it took a year for me to not be in pain, and I
Yeah.
use the hot springs a lot for that, and then I'm still going through therapy physically from
Hmm.
that. So I went to the hospital after that, and the diagnosis was physical assault. I had a CAT scan. I had to do it to
Yeah.
have the evidence. And then I managed to escape that beating. When he was coming to jump me the third time, I managed to grab my phone, run to my car and grab my phone and dial 911. And as I was coming out of the car, he was coming at me again. And then he hears 911, what's your emergency? And he gets shocked and he backed away. And I was able to get away and I was on the phone. But one of the police officers was in on it. I
Oh
mean,
God, of course.
so
They're all,
they went back into the house and painted his face with like supposedly trying to be like nail marks, and they
mhm.
try to say that I attacked him. And it was wild, and I knew
Yeah,
that that cop was in on it. He was an OTO member too. They're
yeah.
infiltrated,
Oh
and
yeah.
then, and then about a year after that, they found me in this mountain town, and they messed with my car and they slipped something to me at the hot springs where I guess they found where I like to go. And so that was some really serious. That wasn't a microarray patch. It wasn't DARPA technology like the first time. It was a plant in the forest that, or a mushroom that poisons you and it's not traceable. And it's one of two possibilities. But I ended up in the hospital again. And that time my life was saved by a Sasquatch and a family. And I actually reached out to them because I'd heard stories about them frequenting that town. It
Yeah.
was in Oak Ridge in Oregon. It's a place where a lot of Sasquatch are.
Mhm.
Well, I could smell them, from time to time. I knew they were there. I
Mhm.
could smell them, like when I was out in the nature. But anyway, I reached out to them and I started talking to them and I asked them because, Native Americans and logging families told me stories of how they used to trade and they had names for them. So I'm like, okay, they're real.
All positive stories, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
all positive stories
Hmm.
if there's a negative experience that somebody has with Sasquatch people, it's because they're making some major mistake.
Yeah. Your
Inten-
camera's doing stuff. I feel like it's somebody's hanging out with us. No, I think it's great. I think
Oh,
it's a sign that, somebody's here. But sorry, continue.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, they're highly telepathic,
Yeah.
very evolved spiritually.
Hmm.
They're very connected with their inner nature and with the nature itself. And so they mind speak. That's what they call it. They
Yeah.
call it mind speaking. It's just more simple that way.
Hmm.
Um, they can talk and they can speak our language and they can say words. Some of
Yeah.
them do, some of them don't. Mostly they mind speak.
Yeah.
So I talked to them. I'm familiar with, my dad opened that doorway for me when I was 10, and
Yeah.
he taught me that there's a universal translator for all species. So you can communicate with, trees. Trees will talk to us, and
Hmm.
they're a collective. Their root systems are connected and they communicate with each other, but they can also talk to us. And so, every herb, plant, all species, you can communicate with them. There's an automatic universal translator, and so you will understand what they're saying. So I knew these things, and I reached out to the Sasquatch family, and I asked them if they would protect me because I was being hunted.
Yeah.
And so on one day, so the junior Sasquatch, his name is JJ, he was sent to, because they have rites of passage. So
Hmm.
when they're like a teenager and they're becoming an adult, especially the males, they get tasked with projects like protecting humans. There's some good humans that they respect. It's not easy to earn their respect, but you can. And they like the ones who have empathy and compassion and are respecting life and nature.
Hmm.
And they task the juniors with it's like a rite of passage
Yeah.
where, so his family tasked him with protecting me, and he showed up at the hot springs one day, and I saw his little red eyes. He was cloaking, so he's
Yeah.
kind of fading in and out, and I wasn't sure, so I stared at those red eyes. I'm like, are they eyes? And after 2 minutes I saw them blink. And I was like, I got you. And then, he's kind of smiling because part of their task is to be able to cloak themselves to
Hmm.
humans. Like they have to learn how to do this. They have a lot of training that they go through.
Yeah.
But I could see him, and I think it's just because I can see,
Yeah, you're
my
gifted for sure.
open. And
You're
so we
connected.
were scanning each other. And basically 1 week
Yeah.
after that was the attempt on my life.
Wow.
And then he showed up. I tried to pull off on the side of the road. I was dizzy and spinning and slightly hallucinating and
So
really
you were in
sleepy.
your car. You got in your car and tried to drive.
I
Okay.
tried to get away because I knew that guy poisoned me. He was
Okay,
the
so
only
this
one
guy was around and you knew he
at the
poisoned you
hospital.
and he didn't help you at all. He okay.
No, no, I couldn't even walk to my car. I was wobbly and dizzy and in pain in my stomach. And I asked him to walk me to my car. And so he did. And he kind of like was putting his, holding my arm or whatever. And I get to my car, and I didn't know him. It was a public, a hot spring outdoors
Hmm.
that I used to go to heal myself. Well, I get to my car and I start the car and I'm like really sick. And I'm like, I look at him and I said, I don't think I can drive. And he looks at me and he kind of
Oh my
head
God. What
down
a
and he slinks away into the shadows. And in that very
monster.
moment, I knew he poisoned me.
Yeah.
So I had to drive out of there and drive in the opposite direction from my house. Like I had that enough, in case he was following me. I'm like, I can't go home. So
Yeah.
I started driving, and then for 20 minutes, I didn't know where I didn't have any. I was just kind of in the groove of the driving and enjoying it, and it was soothing me, and I was out. I didn't understand. And then on 20 minutes later, my stomach starts hurting again, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Oh my God.
I'm not going home. I'm
Yeah.
like, where am I? And then I realized I couldn't drive. And so I pulled off
Yeah.
on the side of the road and I thought to myself, well, I'll just try to sleep this off. And I was really, really sick. Well, I laid my seat back and I was sitting there, and it was about 2 or 3 minutes later, and suddenly my car starts rocking back and forth. And it was so strong, immediately so strong, I knew it couldn't be a human. So the
Mhm.
first thing that flashed through my mind was Sasquatch, then government, then aliens. I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't know. It was the only three possibilities, right? But the first
Yeah.
thing I thought was Sasquatch because he seemed to have his hands on each side. It was very dark. I could not see. I looked in the rear view mirror, but I couldn't see. He just, their fur can be very dark, and it just blended in with the tree line. So, but my car just kept rocking back and forth, stronger and stronger and stronger with each rock. And amazingly, my head never hit the window. It was
Oh
so
wow.
the measurement of the motion was so exact. It was so gentle but so strong.
Hmm.
That's what blew my mind. And then he shot this sonar energy through my body, which put me into this state which I would call the between worlds, where
Okay.
everything was like there was a movie with Robin Williams in it where he would go into the picture, the canvas picture, and everything would be like a painting.
Oh, what dreams may come?
Yes, what dreams
Yes.
may come. It was just like
Oh
that,
wow.
where everything, what I realized in that state, and I was only in that state for a few seconds while that energy, that he was blasting through my body, and that was to get me to throw up the poison and to get it to come out of my body. Um, about 20, 30 minutes after that.
Yeah.
But I was in that in between. I call it the in between world. Some people call it the void. It's an actual place that exists, and I didn't know that until I experienced it.
Oh wow.
Everything in the material was fluid. This is what I saw. It was malleable. I knew I was about to reach out and grab the steering wheel, and I would have reformed it like putty.
Yeah. Oh
I knew
wow.
that. But then he pushed me into traffic. So before I could actually reach out and alter something in the material, I was rolling into traffic. And and I'm like, what? I mean, into the road, and then my
Yeah.
car hit the embankment. The front of my car hit the embankment on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
and the back of my car was still in one lane of the road. And my car was seized, all the electrical equipment. I couldn't do anything with it. So I had to
Mm-hmm.
leave it and get out and wave somebody down.
Uh-huh.
And finally, somebody stopped after about 20 minutes.
Oh God.
And then the fire crew came, the paramedics, and then the
Mm.
paramedics. And I vomited. Like it was four bursts and all the poison came out of my body. And I know it was because of that is it sonar or scalar? I can't remember
Sonar,
now.
I think. Sonar,
Sonar.
right? Yeah.
Sonar frequency that the Sasquatch blasted through my body.
Was there
And I
anything weird about the vomit that made you think?
Yeah, it was live. Well, yes, the medics said they'd never seen anybody vomit like that, and I had never experienced vomiting like that either. It was
Yeah.
volatile, but it was not painful.
Mm.
I felt better afterwards. But it was almost violent. It was so volatile, it just projectile vomited out of my body. It
He was
was
like,
so
get this out of her. We're getting this out.
whoops. And the
Yeah.
wild thing about that too is that all of my whole body cleaned out.
Mm.
So afterwards, I felt amazing. I was still like kind of slightly hallucinating and
Yeah.
losing. I had loss of time, which
Yeah.
a big loss of time because like they were trying to convince me to go to the hospital for an hour in the ambulance. And I
Mm.
was like, oh, I feel better now. I vomited. Just drop me off at home. And it's kind of out of it. But
Yeah.
no, we need to take you to the hospital. And they all knew I was poisoned.
Yeah.
And then there were several doctors. There was like two or three doctors that analyzed me, and they all said that I was poisoned with something, this untraceable medicine from the forest. So they'd seen it before.
Uh-huh.
But he saved my life,
Why do you think he was rocking the car?
to wake me up, to
Okay.
prevent me from sleeping,
Okay.
like shaking me
Oh
out of it.
yeah.
And to get my attention. And then, then he blasted the sonar energy through my body to get the
Yeah.
poison out. And then he pushed me into traffic to make sure I would be rescued. And it was very confusing. I was like, because humans couldn't do that.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that was a really up close and personal experience with them.
Yeah.
And
Saved you.
yeah, he saved my life. He's my
Oh.
hero. His name is JJ. He's a
Yeah.
beautiful Sasquatch Junior, becoming
Yeah.
a young male, young alpha male.
What'd you
And
tell us about him?
he's got golden fur, golden orange fur, that just shimmers. He likes to glide. He can walk. Now they can walk, but he normally glides. He just
Hmm.
glides sideways through the forest, like floating. And it's because I
Yeah.
think he's in that in-between world,
Oh yeah.
the void. And then that's when he can glide. And then he just looks like his fur just is shimmering and shining. And it's so beautiful. He's so
Yeah.
beautiful. He has so much compassion in his eyes. So
Hmm.
I've been learning about the Sasquatch people.
Yeah.
And they are, when I saw his eyes and his face, I felt and saw the emotion. They're so deeply compassionate. They're so in touch with their feelings.
Hmm.
What they feel their feelings instantaneously. They're in alignment,
Hmm.
no disconnection. And they are very loving. They're so loving. They're more loving than humans. They have much deeper, vast compassion than we do because they've developed that over time and they love each other. And
Hmm.
they're not animals. I really want people to understand this. They're people. They have
Yeah.
fur. So oftentimes, people think that they're animals, but they're highly evolved, more evolved than humans. Their minds are more advanced, and they're like yogis. They're adepts. They're
Yeah.
masters of the
Yeah.
forest because they've mastered themselves. They've mastered the material, and they
Hmm.
train for it as
Yeah.
youth. Um, So they have great powers with their mind. They have great healing powers with
Hmm.
they can use the sounds of their bodies and their chakras to either harm or heal. And the worst thing you can do if you see one of them, if you see one of them, they're not allowed to kill humans anymore. There have been a few accidents when humans were messing up and Sasquatch got angry, but then they all unanimously decided not to do that anymore, that it's not worth it to kill humans. It draws too much attention to them, and they don't want to. They have no desire to. They have other ways of shutting you down if they're in danger. So the biggest mistake that a hunters have made is shooting at them, and then they have a right to defend themselves. And they don't kill humans physically. They don't have to. They can use their mind. So they can cause you to go insane. They can cause you to develop a brain tumor a few years later.
Hmm.
They can alter you in that way that they don't ever have to raise a hand because they don't want to draw attention to themselves. So
Hmm.
the worst thing you want to do, you don't, never ever want to shoot at them. Don't panic. They're huge. They're huge. And if you ever see one, it can be terrifying because you are suddenly faced with we've been taught that we are the king predators of, and we're not.
Yeah.
There are species bigger than us. And that is such a shock for the mind when you first see one of them. And the first reaction is fear, and they know this, and that's why they stay hidden. So when you see one, it's because they want you to see them. It's because they've chosen you. You won't even see them.
Hmm.
Um, they
Yeah.
know, they can smell, they can sense when a human is around, and they let some people see them.
Hmm.
But they're gentle giants. Absolutely. They're like big teddy bears. And that's the truth. They're fierce and ferocious. And they can, if they wanted to, they can, but it's only in self-defense that they would ever harm a human.
Yeah.
Only. They are all unanimously in it. They are one collective and they are so tight. Government has never been able to penetrate them, or they've given up on trying to hunt them or whatever because they're just too adept and
Yeah.
they can cause great damage to their equipment and to the men. And
Just too
anyway,
expensive to try to go after
yeah,
them. Just,
they
yeah.
decided to start working with them. So
Oh,
now
wow.
because the government has some ancient technology that they don't know how to use, but the Sasquatch people know how to use it.
Hmm.
And
I
so
hope they don't find out how to use it. I mean, the
right,
government.
I'm sure the Sasquatch people are balancing that.
Yeah.
But they can't beat them. So
Yeah.
they've decided to sort of join them and tolerate, but they don't want people to know that they exist, and they haven't wanted people to know that they exist until now.
Yeah.
Now it's time because honestly, we need them and
Hmm.
they need us. They have knowledge for us. We need their help to return to our roots and to return to nature because they're masters of that and they can teach and guide us. They need us because there's certain things we can do they can't do, that we are more agile with our hands. And so we will be trading again in the future.
Yeah. Would you mind? JJ did tell you something about everything we talked about today. They know what's going on. They know what's been happening these past few years. Would you mind sharing what he said to you about all this? Yeah.
So when he was scanning me, when I first saw him face to face,
When the red eyes, that's what the red eyes mean too, right? They're
eyes are
scanning you.
they're scanning you.
Okay.
They're reading the future. They're reading the past. They can see it all. And it took about 20 minutes for him to scan me. Yeah. Um, they do that because I mean I'd asked them for help. They could see that there was gonna be another attempt on my life. They knew it.
Hmm.
And I also, his JJ's mom, I call her Lily. Um, I gave her a name because it's easier than just calling her Mama or something. She's Lily.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's so beautiful. If you're ever in the forest and you smell a bouquet of flowers and roses and musk and the most beautiful smell of you've ever smelled, that's her. Yeah.
Yeah.
She likes to
And
um
she's a healer like you, right?
yes. this is a medicine family.
Yeah.
So it's a line of actually the grandmother, JJ's grandmother is Patty. She's the famous
Oh, yeah.
Patty who was
I've seen.
photographed.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was a
Yeah.
medicine Sasquatch. She's probably
Yeah.
still alive. I don't know.
Yeah. They live a long time.
They do. Some people, I've had people tell me they only live 100 years. No, they live hundreds of years.
Yeah.
They live
Yeah.
longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's Patty is the grandmother, and then
Yeah.
Lily is the mother of JJ.
Mm-hmm.
And she has two children. And so the second child was a baby and coveted. And so she held her close and didn't reveal anything about that, her second child. She didn't want anyone to know because she was just young and they stay very close to the mother. But I went to this retreat
Uh-huh.
recently. And, I felt Lily. Lily mind spoke with me and she said, she teased me. They're funny. They have incredible senses of humor. They're always laughing and playing. And she teased me and she said, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be able to go because I have to stay back with the baby. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's okay. I get to see, I get to interact with JJ.
Yeah.
Well, she ends up showing up with the baby and
Oh.
announces her baby. It's a
Oh
girl,
my
it's a
gosh.
female, and she's a young Sasquatch. And that female Sasquatch left a footprint for me.
Oh
And
my gosh.
her foot is shorter than my foot. I'm in like a 9 in women's
Uh-huh.
shoes. And her foot was shorter than my foot, but wider. And I could
Oh
see
wow.
all 5 toes.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, she left a little footprint.
What a
And
gift.
I heard her
Yeah.
pitter-pattering around. She was running around. She was teasing me and running around the
Yeah.
juniper bushes and
Oh.
not showing herself, but I could hear her bump, 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 bump as her feet went down.
Yeah.
And she was doing that a lot. She ran around one of my friend's tents.
Mm-hmm.
She and JJ, they were going around the tent and she popped up in the tent
Oh
and
my
showed
gosh.
her head to this lady, and she was a baby. She saw that she was
Oh.
small. That was
Oh.
her. They are so playful and she is so wise for her little age.
Yeah.
Then Lily asked me to name her. And at the beginning of the retreat, there was this one point where I was standing with one of the women and the doors to the house just burst open. And that had never happened. I mean, we'd been there the entire time, and that was the only time that the doors burst open with a gust of wind.
Yeah.
Literally sensed massive Sasquatch stepping in. They were the males, and they
Mm-hmm.
could actually stand up all the way. And they were kind of giggling and happy that they could stand up in the house, but they were cloaked. But I
Uh-huh.
could feel them.
Mm-hmm.
And we both just were like, we just stood there and we're like, we both just sort of looked at each other and we're like, well, welcome. We both felt, you know
Yeah. Yeah.
and they stepped in to check the area. The males always go first to check things out,
Mm-hmm.
and then Freya could come. So
Yeah.
I was asked to name the new Lily's
Oh
child,
my gosh.
you know, and they asked me to do a name speak ceremony.
Uh-huh.
They really like to combine. It's really cute, like mind speak, name speak. They'll combine words into one word to create a meaning. So it's so
Okay.
much easier. It's just so simple instead of like elongated explanations for things. They're very simple.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it makes more sense. So I was asked to do a mind speak ceremony. And so, um, and I felt her all around me. And I heard her even pitter-pattering outside my window one night and
At the
outside
retreat? Okay.
many times, many
Okay.
times. She was just giggling. She was just like, and JJ left a footprint too.
Oh.
He must have been gliding because and touched one foot down.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm walking to a ceremony that we were doing, the print was right in front of me.
He knew you were
And
gonna be there.
he was gonna be right there. And I saw his toes, and I mean it was a perfect
Oh,
footprint.
so
And it was
cool.
in the sand. And then this puppy comes along and just da, 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 and it's all gone. I couldn't even show it to anybody. Whoops. Yeah. So
I bet you he got a kick out of that.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, it was right in the sand. What can you do? But I
Yeah.
mean, it was a lesson in the impermanence of things. Something comes, something goes. There's a flow in life, and that was kind of the lesson to it. But I would have loved to get a picture of that and share it with everybody, but I think it was just meant for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I came up with a name for the new, and she is a medicine woman. She's going to be a medicine woman too. So now this is, three generations that I
Yeah.
know of. There might be more, but now, so I gave her a name that um, is linked to my heritage. So I wanted to extend my genetic lineage to her and give her a name from my people. So I gave her a Viking name,
Yes.
Freya.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
Freya
love
is
it.
her name. Freya Rune Spring.
I
She
love
actually
it.
has a human name. She wanted a human name like us because we have three names, you know.
Yeah.
It's very important to her.
Yeah.
And when I was picking names, there was this one name that meant fountain.
Mm.
And she liked that one, but I didn't like the name because it wasn't beautiful, but the idea of it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, let's just call you because she liked the idea of water coming out of the ground like a spring,
Yeah.
like a fountain, like a spring where it's just gushing out of the ground and it's pure water. It gives life. And she really liked that.
Hmm.
So I called her Spring.
I
Like
love that. And it's like we're there's a bridge being built right now
Yes.
between our worlds with them, and I just think it's so beautiful that they had you name her. I mean, what a sign of the times. That.
That was an honor, and I didn't expect it, and they surprised me with it. She even let me think they weren't going to be there. Like, ta-da! And now,
And
yeah, she's a female, and it was the first time she was announcing her.
oh wow.
So, yeah, so the name speak is a ceremony they do in their culture. They have
Hmm.
ceremonies. They're very advanced.
Yeah.
You know, and so name speaking ceremony is they do it. They give gifts and everybody comes in a circle and they acknowledge the name. And then, somebody speaks it and gives it. So Freya Rune is the Viking name, and then Spring is her nature name. And it's not
Oh.
spring like the season, it's spring like the springs that come out of the ground with
Hmm.
spring water.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love it.
She's gushing with
Yeah.
creativity. She is, oh wow. I mean, she is very, very gifted and very special.
What is she to
And
you? Is she like do you see her as a sister or like another, like a daughter, or what vibe do you two have?
well, right now I'm older than her, so she kind of looks up to me,
Hmm.
still young,
Yeah.
but maybe later she'll be like a sister. Because
Yeah.
JJ calls me his sister.
Hmm.
JJ and I, yeah, are brother and sister.
Yeah.
And so Freya is a sister too. So she's like a little sister. But maybe one day she'll be more like a bigger sister because she's
Maybe.
going to be wiser than me.
Yeah.
But I was out harvesting the other day and I was picking mushrooms. This one mushroom that it takes, so they live 13 up to 20 years more. I mean, they're like, and when you cut them in slices, they have rings like a tree and you can
Mm.
see how old it is. And it's a beautiful anti-aging medicine, so powerful. I use it in my forest for euphoria tea and elixirs
Mhm.
because it's very healing. So I'm out there by a river and there's old logs and I'm picking the mushroom off the log. And all of a sudden I look up and there is this log and there's a mushroom turned upside down. So the white part, because it's dark on the top, but it's white on the bottom, and the white part is just showing. So somebody had picked it off of a log, not that log, a different log, carried it there, placed it upside down, and there was nobody else there. And so these are the kinds of things. And it was a beautiful smelling mushroom and it was the perfect size. She was showing me like that is the peak.
Mhm.
That's when you get the peak medicine in that size. Or that was a good mushroom that had
Mhm.
good medicine. And she's like, she was watching me
Yeah.
harvesting and she was helping.
Oh my
So,
gosh, that's so cool.
yeah.
You're probably gonna start. Oh my gosh, you must be so excited now every time you go out to harvest, like if she's gonna come hang out.
And she does every
Yeah.
time. they're there, either JJ or her. JJ's more of the protector, so if there's some danger, he comes. But
Yeah.
she can come and she can come by herself. She's now allowed to wander off without her parents. When
Hmm.
they're young, they're kept very close, but now she's coming of age. She's becoming like a preteen, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, so she
Oh.
was there and I felt her. Because every species, our DNA each has a different vibrational frequency.
Mhm.
So you can feel personally, like when it's part of telepathy or mind speaking, is you're I because I've been meditating since I was born, and
Mhm.
so when you meditate for many years, you become sensitive to vibrations. Your
Mhm.
hands speak, the palms of the hands, because all the nerve endings come out the palms of the hands, and
Yeah.
so you can read frequency through the palms of your hands, through your skin, through the crown of your head. And so I just feel it's like a wind. That person's wind comes to me, and I feel and I know it's that person. I know if it's, whether it's
Yeah.
human, it's another species, it's all frequency. And the Sasquatch, they can cause people to oh and just like none of this was expected. I didn't when I moved out to the countryside, I was not expecting at all to encounter Sasquatch people, but I needed help. I was desperate and being hunted, and they saved me that third time. I managed to escape the first two times, but the third time that might have killed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if that poison didn't come out of me, I don't know if I would have survived. It was
Mhm.
so much. So yes. So anyway, they can put out people have debated how it's possible where you can smell a beautiful aroma, or sometimes they can put out a very hard, musky, even rotten smell that's so or chemical smell that's so shocking to the human system that immediately you'll go away from that area.
Mhm.
And so people have debated how are they able to do that. Some people think they're able to manipulate your mind. I think
Mhm.
it's a chemical. They're able to release chemicals from their body that either
Mhm.
smell beautiful or can smell different ways, and it affects our brain differently.
Mhm.
Because one time I was at Crater Lake. I'll be
Mhm.
really quick with this.
Mhm.
I was at
No,
Crater
take your
Lake.
time.
I smelled a smell I'd never smelled before, and I'm pretty sure it was a dogman. That's another species in
There's a
the
lot
forest.
of stuff going on at Crater Lake, I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a guardian. You don't have to fear dogmen either. They're
Mhm.
more ferocious than the Sasquatch people. They're a different species.
Mhm.
They're upright walking with a doggish face, and
Yeah.
very tall. But I smelled this smell. It was no animal I'd ever smelled, and it wasn't Sasquatchy either. It was
Uh-huh.
very much so. I was like, okay, that's a dog man, and he actually wanted to say hello. He
Oh.
came close by, but only I could smell it, and it was the strongest smell ever. But my friend, she couldn't smell it, and we were standing in the same spot. So I realized they can send out a chemical and they can direct that chemical to you, to one person. So like a wind, it only comes to you.
Mhm.
That's what I believe is happening anyway.
Yeah. No. No, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. They've got supernatural powers, a lot of them. And I think it's also important people know that just because you see something big and hairy out there does not mean that it's a Sasquatch.
Yeah,
There's a lot of stuff out there that we're not told about. This is a very interesting place we're in, and I think we're going to start discovering more and more about it too.
there's a lot of species in the forest that
Hmm.
are not extinct, that are in myths and fairy tales that still exist. They just stay hidden. And what a generational Native American medicine woman told me. Oh, that's funny. The
They're saying
camera.
hello. They're like,
Oh.
yeah, we're here.
Okay, I didn't do that. Um, she told me that they put a spell on humans. So when we're young,
Who
we can
did? Who did?
uh the other species,
Okay.
it's a kingdom.
Mm,
It's some, there's a fairy kingdom, but it's a whole kingdom of species that live in the nature, and they had to retreat because they were being hunted.
mhm,
So when you're a child, this is why children can see them,
mhm,
gnomes or elves or fairies or, different species, even Sasquatch. I know people who saw them as children.
Mm.
they can see them when they're children, but then they get to a certain age, 7, 8 years old, and the parents and the environment tells you that it's in your imagination, and you just start to block it out and you go to sleep to that, and it's called a spell. They actually put a spell on humans to not be able to see them. So and there are some humans that can still, like I was meditating my whole life, so that stayed open.
Yeah.
I didn't lose it. I actually had to fight to get it back because like everybody, I started losing those my abilities at
Hmm.
age 8. But then through
Yeah.
meditation, I was able to reawaken them and going out in nature
Yeah.
and being with my Native American friend. She's a medicine woman, generational. She does listen to the trees. And one day we were out harvesting, and this wind blew through the trees, and she stood up and she just listened. She's looking and listening. And then she looks at me and she goes, "It's time to go," with urgency.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "Well, we're being hunted." She goes, "Don't panic. It could be an animal, it could be a human, but it's time to go." So we just walked straight to the car. We just
Yeah.
did stopped our harvesting. And that happens.
Hmm.
And but I asked her, how did she know? And she said that the trees have been speaking to her since she was a child. And that never closed for her because she grew up, with a Native American medicine man father.
Hmm.
So he kept that open for her.
Yeah.
Similar with my dad. My dad also influenced me that way.
Yeah. And I think that's good parenting advice going forward for everyone. I really think we need to encourage our children going forward, do everything we can to maintain that within them because I do think that's our future is what we're heading towards is being reconnected again with everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And children can see things that we may not see that might
Hmm.
be right there. So don't disbelieve them. Dialogue with them. Don't make them feel ashamed, because if you make a child feel ashamed, they will shut that off and they'll go under the spell. Um, but they will, and some children are more gifted than others. It has to do with their soul. It's
Hmm.
who their soul is. So there is but anyone can develop those gifts.
Yeah.
Being in nature, talk to the trees, be like a child, being childlike, and just find a beautiful tree and start talking to it. Put your hand up to it and feel it, and just stay there for a few minutes and see what happens.
Yeah.
You might get a voice in your head, you might feel something. That's how it starts to open.
Yeah. Would you say the Sasquatch, I've heard you say that they're divinely connected, that they are connected with God. You still believe that? Yeah.
Yeah, when I first asked them if they would protect me, because I knew the Native Americans told me that they're protectors, watchers, and helpers. And I said, "Well, would you help me?" And
Yeah.
literally she turned and looked, because she felt me communicating with her, and I felt her turn and put her attention on me. It's a indistinguishable feeling when they put their attention on you. You're
Yeah.
like, I can feel it, like blasts my chakras.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, she waved her hand and she said, "We don't really like humans." That's what she said. And she shirked me off.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "Oh." I thought about it, and then I
Yeah.
said to her, "So, honestly, I don't really like humans either." And I said, "Can I hang out with you
Yeah.
guys? Can I know you?"
Yeah.
And she just still grunted. But when I went down to the water and I prayed over the water. And I prayed for them, and I prayed for the medicine to be preserved. And because I don't like to see the trees being, the old growth forest being cut down. And so I prayed for my protection, their protection. And then I prayed over the water, and I reached down and I actually drank some. And when I stood up, they were all standing to attention, all four of them. And that's what got their attention, was me praying. And so I realized they are connected. That's what they care about. That's what they like in us,
Hmm.
is to are striving to be connected. And that's how I touched their hearts. And that's when the mother, Lily, sent her son. She says, "Okay, all right, we'll protect this one."
That's the wild thing is like these other kingdoms, this other kingdom, which is very real. We talked about these other There's
Mhm.
many different types. They're divinely connected, and a lot, unfortunately, certain institutions have tried to paint them as demons because they think that they want us to stay away from, they don't want us knowing about them because we could help each other. Um, and maybe some of them don't want us to know about them either, but they are divinely connected. They're not demons like they've been painted to be, you
The
know.
reason I think that some people think they're demons is because they have red eyes. If you see
Mm,
red eyes in the dark, what are you going to think? The brain
yeah,
goes, but their eyes are also green
yeah,
when they're in a friendly state. I mean, the red is not unfriendly. It's their skin. It's when they're
they're
serious. When
scanning.
they're
Yeah,
serious and they want to read you and scan you, their eyes get red. And
yeah,
when they're relaxing and having fun or they're in a healing mode, their eyes can be green.
yeah,
I've even heard of their eyes being other colors in that too.
yeah.
And their pelt. Their
Hmm.
pelt, I say pelt, their fur, their hair, that can change colors too.
Oh
I've
wow.
seen JJ, when JJ's more serious, his fur is darker, or
Oh
when he
wow.
doesn't want to be seen.
Hmm.
And when he's gliding, he's a golden, vibrant golden color.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. And that goes for the fairy realm too. They're not demons either. I did a show on that with the Lynn Monet. Um, Yeah, so I guess well we're down to 6 minutes left. Thank you so much for the 2 hours you've given us. You're a busy woman and I appreciate it so much. But just before we say goodbye, is there anything you've got going on right now or coming up in the future that you can share with people?
So I just launched a new web shop. It's called Doctor Love's Apothecary. So I have
Nice.
an apothecary. It is the same. An apothecary is the old herb shops,
Mhm.
medicinal shops. So before there were pharmacies, before there was allopathic medicine, there were apothecaries.
Mm,
And I am revitalizing ancient medicine. I'm wild harvesting. I'm planning to grow on my property medicines
mhm,
that are hard to find. But I'm going out in to nature reserves, very remote places where there's old growth trees and getting the best medicine. And I've started putting them together into products. I have a forest euphoria elixir that I recommend everybody try. It's so wonderful. It does so many different things. There's like
mhm,
7 medicines in it and it heals it repairs DNA. It's got a lichen in there that repairs DNA and even in the brain. It's got pine needles. It's got a mushroom that's anti-aging, multiple species of lichen, and it's anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial. It reduces pain and treats pain. Um, it also reverses radiation damage and mitigates the harmful effects of radiation. So it's good to take every day. But people get healings with it. I've had like 15 people or 16 people now try it in front of me. And I've had, test reports of testosterone boosting. Here, we move a little bit here where it's lighter. I've had reports of, increased stamina, but I mean, within 24 hours, within a few hours or a few minutes or 24 hours, people are getting healing.
mhm,
Their eyes clear up. So people who had blurred vision, their eyes start to, or their digestion or their sleep deepens or they feel more relaxed and euphoric. It actually gives a feeling of euphoria because of the medicines that are in it. And then I have a Forest Euphoria tea. And I have a new product I just made that has kinnikinic and pipipsua and bladderwort, along with the Forest Euphoria medicines
mhm,
and more medicines. And it is for the autoimmunity that we were talking about.
mhm,
It does treat AIDS, and it's specifically designed because what happens when your immune system shuts down is pathogens, especially because they're using genetically modified pathogens and bacteria. They're able to then replicate in your body, and they oftentimes go to the gut, but they go through the bladder, they go through the urinary tract, the liver, the kidneys, even the brain. They can lodge anywhere in the body they'll attach to the cells that are weakest and
mhm.
replicate in them. So basically it's cleaning out, it's like cleaning out 5 different organs at once that have to do with bacterial infections, which is it's the main thing that happens when you have autoimmunity.
Mm.
And so that one is really for auto, it's really good one for autoimmune immune and that's coming out. And we're thinking of calling it Flora for your fauna.
I love that.
Because it's the forest,
That's fitting.
it's the forest flora
Yeah.
um, that treats the gut fauna, where you're actually killing the bad bacteria, enabling your healthy, bacteria to grow back.
Yeah.
But so I've got more products coming out. I will have a desert bloom series, a
Mhm.
desert bloom revive or something, and there'll be different products underneath sort of a desert medicine theme and a forest medicine and just so and then I have all of my the products that the companies that I'm affiliated with. I put the products I use the most from those companies like ASEA, Masterpiece, E3 Live, the Blue Green Algae, Young Living, and I put those products on one page in the shop. For those are the ones that work best against the COVID-19 technology for detoxing and reversing cellular damage, and restoring the organs and tissues, nervous system, brain cells. Um, and also they will reverse diseases. Those supplements are amazing. And I use, for more strong cases, I use them in combination. But if your symptoms are not that bad, or you still have an immune system, but you're just struggling a little bit, you could use three supplements up to five. You don't need them all, but for people who have taken a jab or are really sick with chronic illnesses, you need more. Your immune system needs more support. So those are the supplements that I use most often, and they're
Mhm.
completely backed by peer-reviewed studies.
Yeah.
And then I have my own products that I'm coming out with. So I'll have an apothecary and I'll just keep coming out with more and more. And I'm working with a master herbologist that knows,
Mhm.
she's generational Native American medicine woman. Like me, I'm generational medicine woman too.
Yeah.
And we're combining our knowledge to make products. And, we'll be coming out with more things, topical things for skin repair and wound healing. And, eventually I'd like to make some shampoos and conditioners and facial, you know.
Please do. Please do. This is awesome. I love it. This is exactly what we need to be doing. You're doing it. You're living it. Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm going to visit. I'm going to be a customer. So thank you.
I have a 100-foot greenhouse coming.
Awesome.
Start in the
Yes.
spring. We have all these projects going. I'll be so busy next year, wild harvesting and growing. And then I'm thinking of eventually setting up like if anybody wants me to set up like a detox retreat center, we could do it like basically anytime. It could be done in winter, it could be done in summer, because we do have hot springs here and they're very, very healing. They're like detox baths.
Hmm.
So they're very healing to go to. So any time of the year, it's wonderful to go out into these nature. This is like a hut where I am is just absolutely a center for the nature reserves and
Hmm.
some of the most beautiful waterfalls and forests, lush old growth forests and hot springs and volcanic areas. I mean, it's endless. So I was thinking of setting up a retreat center here for people to detox, like a detox, where they can come for a month or two and then be served organic food, and then they can learn my protocols and recipes and how to make the things that I teach to my clients. And it would be easier if you're in person and you're watching somebody do it in front of you. And so by and then they can heal in peace and with nature, and with having their own bedroom, their own quarters, their own bathroom, that kind of a thing. And that's something I'd really like to do.
I
And
love
I
that idea.
just need enough people to sign up. I probably need 5 people at least.
Hmm.
And I could probably take up to, well, I mean, if there's more than that, if there's double the amount, we could, I was thinking of renting a house basically and
Mm.
having everybody in the house with their own quarters, private quarters,
Yeah.
their own bathroom, their own bedroom. And if there's more people, we could just rent two houses close together. But anyway, the point is there needs to be at least 5 people to sign up for that.
We'll be teaching people how to, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's going to happen. I feel like that's going to happen.
Uh,
Probably that's going to be something that continues to happen too.
yeah.
These, yeah,
Eventually, I'd like to have land and set up yurts and have a communal area and, a little more privacy. But that would take a bit of an investment. So I
yeah,
have to work to getting there.
yeah,
But in the meantime, we can rent. I don't want to use support Airbnb, but that type of a thing where you rent a house and for a month or two, and
mhm,
then, with many bedrooms, and then everyone can be there, with a communal kitchen, and then it could just be a detox retreat center for
yeah,
people with turbo cancers and um chronic debilitating illnesses or people injured from these COVID jabs.
yeah.
That's the idea of it. Yeah.
I love it. I love this idea. Thank you, thank you. And I feel like that's going to happen. It's just going to be, I hope you're ready because I think you're going to get people signing up that want to do this. Yeah,
Oh, I'm ready. I also have an
yeah,
idea to do a training courses. So I'd like to certify people as health coaches in
yeah,
terrain medicine. So, root cause diagnosis and terrain medicine treatment. you know um so it would be, I guess, I don't know, toying around the idea. It could be root cause terrain medicine health coach or something, or
yeah,
terrain medicine health coach, traditional ancient medicine.
yes,
I would do a whole training course in root causes of disease and how the body system heals and what you can use to heal. So people could then be certified as health coaches in my healing modality, which is root cause. I'm the only person in the world that's doing what I'm doing, that
yeah,
is restoring the innate operating system of the body, balancing the bodily functions, reversing the cellular damage. And I have a whole system for doing that.
hmm,
And it takes some time to learn it, a little bit of
yeah,
time, but I'm ready. I'm ready to set up training courses. I think winter would even be a good time as any.
yeah,
But again, I would need at least 5 people for the
yeah,
course, or I could start the training course, the health certification training course in the spring of next year when
yeah,
it's more, yeah. But the detox retreat center could be anytime because that's people really need that.
yeah. I have a feeling you're about to get very, very busy, even though you already are very busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
because we need what you're doing. It's the future. We need to go back to go forward. Because you're
Yeah.
actually healing people. You're not treating people. You're healing people.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm healing people
Hmm.
totally. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of a perfectionist. So like I sometimes people come to me and they're like, I just want to do the parasite cleanse. But you have Crohn's disease or you have Lyme's disease. You got a lot more
Yeah.
going on than just parasites. So,
Yeah.
I don't like to just do partial things.
Yeah.
I could certainly make a lot more money if I were to do that. But I want people well. I know how to take pain away from people and disease and reverse it and repair the body system. And then I just kind of, I have to do it totally,
Yeah. Yeah.
not partially, but
Yeah.
that's why I do the consultations too, because it's a journey. Health
Hmm.
is a journey. And you do
Yes.
end up changing your patterns and habits and diet. And it's not a painful thing. It's actually quite delightful.
Yeah.
I want to put out more recipes to make that part easier for people
Hmm.
and start adding more recipes into my packages. I have some,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, that
but
would make it. I think some people get intimidated. And like you said, they get scared and they're just like, they want to cling to the pharmaceuticals. But I feel like that would help if people had something like, okay,
yeah.
I'm just going to follow this and do what she says. Yeah.
Yeah, like one of the biggest things is getting people off of coffee. Coffee is the
Yeah.
worst because it's acidic forming.
Mm.
Now, I mean, I'm not saying like, okay, I look at everything as medicine. I'm not an absolutist. So if you're going to use coffee, make sure you use espresso because then you don't get those harmful oils, like,
Okay. Yeah.
and if you mix it with steamed milk, it digests better. I mean, I'm like meticulous like that. I'm not an
Yeah.
absolutist,
Hmm.
but when you're trying to reverse a health condition that is serious, you have to cut out coffee for
Okay.
at least
Oh,
for
I
for
didn't know that.
a
Okay,
month.
good to know. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
highly acidic. Yeah.
yes, highly acidic, and that's when graphene oxide nanoparticles and parasites and harmful bacteria can replicate. So,
Hmm.
you've got to follow a regimen for a while, but you get your health back. It's so
Yeah.
worth it. You can do what you want.
And I've heard an apple can be just as energizing as coffee because it's, or yeah,
Well,
that's true.
I replaced the coffee with I have a matcha latte tea, which
Okay.
people get absolutely addicted to.
Uh-huh.
And I tell people, okay, just try this, and then you can have as much of it as you want. You can have as many cups as you want throughout the day.
Yeah.
And then they do. They try it, and they absolutely love it. And
What is it? A mushroom? Is it a,
yeah, so it's matcha, which comes from green tea.
okay.
It's anti-cancerous, and
Okay.
it's filled with phytochemicals, and it's super antioxidant,
Uh-huh.
and it cleanses your organs. So it's very supportive for detox. And
Oh,
it's
nice.
also lots of chlorophyll, so it helps red blood cells to regenerate. Well, and then I put cacao powder in it, which is a brain food. So you're
Hmm.
getting healthy caffeine and brain activation, and people feel amazing on it. The first cup, and you're hooked. And then
Yeah.
I use chaga mushroom in
Hmm.
my reishi, and
Uh-huh.
I use a lion. You can use lion's mane too, but you can use some mushrooms, you can put blueberry powder, but it's just, you kind of make it and then I add like stevia to sweeten it, which is
Yeah.
also um, antibacterial.
Hmm.
And then I put a little peppermint oil. And then it's a matcha latte.
Yeah.
It's like,
Just see you in the morning. I would just love to watch you make that. It's like you're making
I
a
should
potion.
do a video. I should do a video for people because
You
it
should.
is a process that, again, a learning curve. But
Yeah.
once you get it, and they never go back to
Yeah.
coffee.
Why would you? Why would you if there's a healthier way? It makes you feel just
It
as
makes
good,
you
if
feel
not better.
amazing. Better.
Yeah. I've
You
never
can
heard
also,
of this. So you
yeah,
just educated. I've never heard of that. Awesome.
I gotta do a video for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, you're changing people's lives even down to their morning routines with coffee. All right. Well, I
Yeah.
have kept you long enough. Thank you so much. And one last thing, where can people find you? Website before we go?
Okay,
Sorry.
so I have my stuff spread out a little bit in
Okay.
different places, and there's a reason for that because I've had attacks and hacking and stuff like that. So I figure if I have multiple websites at least, you know,
Yeah.
anyway. So I have a website for my consultations, which is drlove.live. So DR for drlove.live.
Okay.
And that you can book a consultation there. You can also reach out to me and through a contact form, or you can go to Dr. Love's Apothecary and you can also contact me through that. There's a contact form there, and that goes straight to my email as well. So I see those very quickly. That's kind of the best way to get in touch with me. And then so drlovesapothecary.com, drlove.live, and then I have a Substack, which is really good to follow. And the handle is at DR for doctor, my last name Love, and then my first name Ariana. So at Dr. Love Ariana. And my Telegram channel is the same. It's at Real Dr. Love and DR for doctor. And then my X channel is the same as my Telegram. So it's at DR for Doctor Love Ariana. I just love that picture. I love the apothecary. That is so cool. Your
Good. I
background.
love it too. Well, maybe it'll be your future office. Who knows? Oh, all right. Well, it's crazy because we're ending and they just somebody's mowing the lawn. Okay. Well,
Okay.
thank you everyone for being with us and Have a good one, everybody. Goodbye. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Jennifer. And thanks everybody for
Bye,
listening,
everyone.
keeping an open mind.
Yes, and I hope to have you on again too.
Absolutely. I'd love that.
Okay, bye, everybody. Take care.